The next morning, your belly was full of breakfast and you were in a pleasant mood. You hoped the rest of the day followed suit. Later, you were meeting up with your friends, Cove, Miranda, and Terry, to go into town. Nice. It was all on short notice, but that was because everyone was just so excited that Cove was finally back home.
Having a nice day, Dream?
You blinked, pushing all your thoughts away and returning to reality. Your mom was watching you with a teasing smile.
All right.
So, what's on the agenda today?
I'm meeting up with some people.
Well, I hope you and your friends have fun. Don't get into too much trouble.
She winked at you. You knew both of your moms wanted you to enjoy every bit of the summer before all the big changes started. I'll try.
That'd be great.
But before you go gallivanting around the town, could you bring the mail in? I'm finishing up putting the dishes away over here.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Oh, yo! Dad, look at you! Nice shirt. I approve of this shirt. As soon as you were outside your front door, you couldn't help but see Cove and his dad standing around in the road. They noticed you too.
Hey.
Hey there, Molly.
Cove smiled lightly and waved. When you began making your way over, he added,
Hi.
You gave him a noogie. I'ma give him a wave. Cove couldn't quite meet your gaze, but as you approached, the corners of his mouth pulled into a smile. Nice. You noticed Mr. Holden was taking in the scene of you and Cove with a self-satisfied smile. Uh-huh. Cove followed your line of sight and shot his dad an unimpressed look. Uh-huh. For a moment, Mr. Holden seemed like he had a thought dancing on the tip of his tongue, but he decided to keep it to himself.
So,
What are you up to today?
You held up the envelopes in your hand. I was getting the mail.
right.
And we're meeting some friends in town in a while.
You looked at Cove and nodded in agreement.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yawning, Mr. Holden stretched his arms over his head.
Oh, my boy and I have just been waiting around to see what the new neighbors are like.
Oh yeah! Do go on.
It was definitely his idea. I don't know how you're not interested in this. It's big news. Besides, it'd only be polite to greet the new folks in town.
Maybe it'll be a single dad and his son competition. You've been here too long if seeing a new person rent a condo is what you consider an exciting development. Yes, I'm dying to see the newcomers. Shrug. I don't want to meet them. Anybody's gotta be better than the last tenants. I'm torn between these two. I'm gonna flip a coin for this one. I like both of them. Alright, heads for the top, tails for the bottom. Hiya! Whoop. Heads. Alright, we're gonna be sassy. You've been here too long if seeing a new person rent a condo is what you consider an exciting development. For several moments, Mr. Holden was unable to answer. I think Cove approved. He was laughing and slightly shaking his head.
You might be onto something.
Cove put a reassuring hand on his dad's shoulder.
Don't worry about it.
You can still make the most of your life before it's too late.
What?
How old do you think I am? I'm not that old. Okay, maybe I am.
Mr. Holden took one more glance at the currently vacant building and sighed dramatically. When he turned back to you and Cove, his whole body seemed deflated.
There's no sign of them, and I still need to head over to work soon.
Cove gave his dad a few reassuring pats on the back.
Okay, I promise to keep an eye out. I can text you if anything happens. Really?
Of course.
Well, I mean, only until I have to meet up with Terry and Miranda. Would that still work?
With a wide grin breaking out on his face, Mr. Holden looked absolutely thrilled to have his nosiness enabled. I'm so glad to see you guys getting along.
That works!
He moved to firmly place both hands over Cove's shoulders, fixing his child with a firm stare.
Son, you are my true ally in this world.
Mr. Holden stood up straighter, letting Cove go. He looked reinvigorated.
Okay, with that settled, I'll go make some money. That's always been the one thing I do best.
Mr. Holden headed off to the garage with a big wave goodbye. Cove smiled the whole time you both watched his dad leave. Cove's dad was kind of a bother. No, I really like him. You had for a long time. As soon as he was out of sight, Cove sighed lightly. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Just not looking forward to waiting. Guess I'll be hanging around the street a while.
Yeah, I was just gonna offer. I can wait with you. You wouldn't abandon Cove there to wither on the road out of boredom.
Really?
Of course. I like keeping you company, remember? He stared at you a moment, smiling softly and thinking about his response.
Me too.
Yay! Cove put his hands on your shoulders, gripping you solidly, but not enough to hurt. His eyes fixated on you just as firmly. He was serious. I love it. Thank you.
Molly, you're my true ally in this world.
That got a fair amount of chuckles from you. He grinned, the stoicism fading into amusement.
Thank you.
I knew you'd stay for me.
I probably would just laugh. It was soft and happy. The smile on his face reached his eyes and it made you feel electric. And then he let go of you. Cove stepped over to his front porch steps, lazily taking a seat and leaning back on his arms.
Our watch begins.
I hope I took the mail in before I sat down. Mom's like, good grief. She went out to get the mail and she's disappeared. Nodding in agreement, you joined Cove on the front porch steps. You both sat there in a comfortable familiarity as you settled in for the waiting game on the new tenants. The neighborhood was quiet, and you sighed contentedly, closing your eyes and feeling the light breeze. Eventually, you both perked up at the sound of a car. A taxi followed the noise, turning onto your street. Cove's eyebrows raised at that sight, and he sat up straight on the stoop.
Oh?
This has to be them, right?
I hope so. Now that they were here, you couldn't help but feel just a bit curious. You wondered what kind of person would be living in the neighborhood for the summer. The taxi pulled to a stop as you expected in front of the now empty condo. It was on the same side of the street as your house, a few buildings further up. Without getting to his feet, Cove tried leaning and tilting his head to get a view of the passenger door as it opened. The single occupant exited the cab.
Huh?
You could feel what Cove was in that moment. After the last renters, this new visitor was definitely not exactly what you'd expected. I'm sorry, I was not prepared for, like, the smolder in my general direction. Well, hello! You look like a dateable fellow. Maybe in the future, but not right now. Amazing. Your hair is incredible. It was a young man, had to be close to your own age. He was dressed fully in an eclectic black, white, and gray outfit. Even his side-swooping hair matched the scheme. The only other pop of color was from something that couldn't easily be fashioned into submission. A pair of dark brown eyes, which you caught when he looked over at his audience.
Hello, folks. Who might you be?
Um,
We're the neighbors.
The smile already prominent on his face curled further. It was cocky, but you didn't get the impression it meant something adverse.
Hallelujah.
You and Cove shared a familiar look with one another, bewildered even further. The color-coordinated man left it there, however, and with a firm click, he shut the door of his ride. Then he turned his back to you to retrieve a large, unsurprisingly, black suitcase out of the trunk. Continuing on with his own business, he strolled forward and lightly tapped on the driver's side window with his knuckles, asking for them to roll it down. When it opened, he leaned down and rested his arm on the edge. You assumed he was thanking the driver for getting him there, considering he slipped them a tip during the brief chat. They shook hands, and then he pushed himself up and away from the taxi with both arms, giving the driver room to leave. The taxi pulled away, rolling carefully down the road and out of sight around a corner. The new renter had officially arrived. Let's get a look at what you're... Oh, the ripped pants, too. Wow. This guy's got style. He left his suitcase on the ground, out of the way of the street, and sauntered over your way with the confidence of someone who had been invited to join. Cove's face. Cove finally stood up to greet this person. You followed suit.
Excellent.
Holy, your voice is deep. I was unprepared, sir. Oof.
I'm Baxter Ward. It's excellent to meet you, neighbors.
You were standing on the side he was approaching from. When Baxter got close enough, he offered his hand to you first. Okay. Polite. You offered to low-five him. You held your arms open to offer a hug instead. Hold on. I want to do it for science, but I'm also like, should I do the science thing on his route? You know what? I'll do science on his route, I promise. I would, in the situation, I would just shake his hand. I'm not just gonna hug a random person. Hey neighbor, welcome to the neighborhood. Baxter gripped your hand firmly to give a satisfying shake. I'm Molly. Hello. It's nice to meet you too.
Hey, Molly. I am quite keen on getting to know you better this summer. We could be good friends.
Oh god, he's a flirt. From your other side, Cove made a sudden sputtering noise. Don't worry, baby. It's only you, I promise. I promise. He is distracting, but I promise it's just you.
And you are.
He lifted his hand out to Cove next. Cove instead crossed his arms to express his rejection of that idea, still eyeing Baxter carefully. Well, this is going smoothly.
I'm Cove.
Baxter's whole demeanor lit up for unknown reasons. His eyes shone as he studied Cove a moment.
Really?
I can't with this guy's voice.
Now wait, is that a nickname or your real name? It's just my name.
Cove spoke mildly, having given that explanation many times in the past, but it clearly charmed Baxter all the same. He tossed his head to one side with a laugh.
Your parents knew exactly what they were doing. I can't imagine a more fitting name for the face I'm seeing. Cove, that's gorgeous.
What?
Maybe Cove isn't immune to his charms either. He's like,
What? Huh? It's really not.
hey, only I get to fluster him. No, I agree. It suits you.
Not bad.
I cannot with just I need you to leave. I need you to like get back in the taxi and leave. This is not good. Not good. Shoo! Shoo!
Nice to see someone else knows. The impact might have faded for you, living with it this long, but I promise to the onlooker it's a knockout.
Cove couldn't face either of you after that. His cheeks were quickly turning bright red with embarrassment. You noticed that Baxter looked apologetic over Cove's increased discomfort.
I'm sorry. It wasn't intended to mean more than it did. I like your name, but you don't have to mind that. I'm patently against stepping on anyone's toes.
He chuckled to himself. It seemed like there was some extra meaning hidden there in his words, and you noticed that Cove raised an eyebrow, picking up on that too. Baxter didn't even open his eyes to see your faces to know he had some filling to do. He stood up straighter, striking a slight pose with the position of his feet.
I'm a ballroom dancer, hence the phrasing.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know much about dancing, but that's pretty cool. It's not hard once you get the basics down.
Cove didn't look convinced at all. Baxter took that as a cue to keep talking.
Well,
He grinned in a way that was rapidly becoming familiar to you.
If either of you are ever looking for a partner, I'm available.
Damn, this guy's just like, hey, anybody, any cute people in the neighborhood, call me. Cove frowned at the overt forwardness.
Thanks. I'll pass, I think.
Saving that for later. I'm sorry. You're a great guy, but I'm taken with the beautiful green-haired man over here. I'd rather not. Baxter nodded understandingly and let the subject go. After that, there was a lull in conversation, and Cove attempted to fill it.
So,
what made you decide on Sunset Bird? Oh yes, well my parents rented a condo, so I had a place to stay while I'm off for a semester from college and not living in the dorms.
You're in college? There was a playful glint in Baxter's eyes as he continued.
Honestly.
This voice.
Ideally, they wanted to send me somewhere that wasn't too exciting, but lucky for me, they picked the wrong street. Considering the two of you live here.
Cove was practically reeling over how Baxter found a way to fit comments like that into every single topic thus far. I know. Pray for me, Cove. I need your help.
Why do you keep doing that? You don't know us, but you talk like you already do.
Cove spoke, firm yet genuinely confused, and Baxter smiled cautiously.
I don't feel the need to keep words of praise to myself. And when I say something, I mean it.
See?
Plus, what's the point of spending my off semester alone? The best part of being somewhere new is getting to interact with new people.
What a nice way of saying that you've burned some relationships in your past, so you're like, hey, nobody knows who I am here.
Am I honestly the first person who has acknowledged you're attractive and intriguing people? True, you're hidden away in a tiny tourist trap, but still.
Baxter crossed his arms. After studying your faces a few more seconds, he decided to continue.
Am I only trying to score a hookup or get a romantic fling started by saying those things? No. That isn't the point of speaking well of others. I was raised better than that.
Okay.
Though, would I be fussed if that's what my words led to? Also no. I am flexible, not a surprise. I can back off with the lines if you don't like the attention. But I would like to be friends if we can.
Man, the forwardness. Cove wasn't sure how to respond. He glanced at you, and he continued to look at your face when he spoke.
Thanks for answering. I'm not interested in any of that. With you. Maybe not the friend thing, but the other part.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Good. You probably annoy a lot of people. Probably. But yes, I would also appreciate it if you didn't do that with me because my heart would not be able to take it this route. Save it for your own. I would appreciate it. I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that with me.
I'll keep it in check. Glad we're working things out.
Now we'll see how well he responds to that. Can he actually rein it in? Shifting his weight to his other foot, Baxter tried to move forward.
So?
That was even deeper than the other voice lines. Good grief.
Since you were both already out here, did my arrival interrupt anything? Definitely not.
Yeah, I'll laugh in a conspiratorial way. Baxter looked at you curiously. He didn't understand your response, but he chose not to question it and smiled politely instead.
Well, if either of you are free, I'd be thrilled to hang out this summer. But we can save the scheduled talk for later. I should get my things inside.
He gave a small nod of the head and flashed you both a dazzling smile.
Goodbye.
For today.
Cove simply waved goodbye. Bye. Baxter then turned on his heels and strolled back to his suitcase, picking it up and bringing it to his condo. You and Cove were silent as Baxter unlocked the door and disappeared inside the house. With him completely out of the scene, Cove let out a long breath.
Well,
I don't know how I'm gonna explain that guy to my dad.
You burst into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine the conversation.
At least the job is done. We saw the new neighbor, and now we can go meet up with Terry and Miranda.
Yeah, we should get going. You gave Baxter's condo one last glance over your shoulder. good face. Can we just like say yes? This is my feelings for Baxter. Not to this. Funnily, because he's so direct, it doesn't make me nervous for a weird. I'm relaxed about it, I think. Just because I'm like, what? I would kind of just take it with a grain of salt. I don't think I could be nervous around him. No to the crush, but I'm like, what's fond? Just like a smile or... if you choose to be indifferent towards Baxter, you won't be able to access any of the Baxter DLC content for the save file, and scenes will play out as they do in the base game. You can still get along with Baxter on indifferent. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to play his DLC anyway. You know what? We'll do fond for right now, just so that I know what I'm working with. And then when I do Derek's route next time, I'll set it to indifferent just to see what the changes are. And go from there. Alright. Just a nice smile for Baxter. Relax fondness. Yeah, that's fine. I did think he was charming. Yeah. I would have thought he was charming. You really weren't sure when, but at some point Baxter won you over. You were curious to get to know him better. Laughing quietly, you wondered how Baxter would fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. Turning your attention back to Cove, you pushed all thoughts of Baxter aside. Get out of there. Just get out of my brain. You both started making your way towards town. Oh, I haven't seen this background in ages. A little while later, you and Cove reached the main street in town. All of a sudden, you stopped walking.
What's wrong?
I think I heard my phone. You dug your cell phone out and looked at it with a satisfied grin. There was a new message. Before you could read it, you were distracted by a small, amused noise from Cove. His head was slightly tilted to the side as he carefully looked at your old keychain. Yeah, remember when you got this for me?
I can't believe you still have that.
Of course I do. I love it. You meant it. The intensity of your words had Cove blushing and looking away from you. For a moment, you were both at a loss for more words. You were sucked into remembering that day he bought it for you. Cove was the one who spoke up again.
It's nice.
I'm actually glad you like it.
He looked from the keychain to you. His smile reached his eyes.
It makes me happy, seeing you care about it and everything.
You were stunned for a moment by his confession. Smiling, you refocused on the task at hand. Cuties. You opened the new text from Miranda and all you saw was, "I can see you." Immediately from where you stood, you started swiveling your head around. You couldn't spot Miranda anywhere, but she did send you more messages. I see you looking. Really, Randy? I'm curious what really Randy means. Really, Randy? The message was sent, and you were back to looking around, scanning for any sign of movement and familiar faces, but they were still invisible. Cove looked at you carefully, raising an eyebrow. Miranda! Yeah, I probably would have sent another text. If you want to keep hiding, Cove and I can just do our own stuff without you, is what you decided on. You smirked, hitting send on that message. Cove looked at you curious, raising an eyebrow.
What's happening?
Before you could even begin explaining anything to Cove, you both snapped your attention to the yelling from across the street. And there you saw Miranda and Terry coming out from behind the backside wall of the grocery store. They both started waving widely to draw even more attention to themselves. Cove took a step in their direction. He grinned and waited for them to get closer. Laughing and arm, the girls stopped only to look both ways and then rushed across the empty street.
Hi.
Hey, cutie.
I hope you weren't waiting too long. Hey, buddies.
Hey, Terry.
Hi.
I'm amazed. How did you appear out of nowhere like that? They started giggling again. Terry glanced at Miranda, wondering what their story should be.
Ooh. It was magic.
Gesturing in a vaguely whimsical manner, Terry went along with the decision.
And magicians never reveal their secrets. Ooh.
That's fair. Terry then closed the distance between her and Cove and crushed him in a painfully tight hug. Cove's face.
You're finally here. It's been so long. What took you?
He did his best to eke out a reply with his chest being compressed.
Sorry.
Eventually, she let him go. Terry looked at him with a beaming smile, but Cove was distracted, rubbing his arms. Standing there, Miranda shifted her weight to her other hip. She watched Cove patiently with a bashful smile.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
It finally felt official. Everyone was together in one place. From here, you weren't sure how often you would have another afternoon like this again. They didn't either.
So?
Cove,
Terry poked Cove square in the chest.
you're gonna have to get me your schedule by this time yesterday.
No way.
Not really possible, Terry, but I can say as soon as I know. So far, work hasn't said anything, but I can tell you I'm busy with Orca activities.
When Cove wasn't at his part-time job or pursuing his academic interests, he volunteered for the Ocean Restoration California affiliation, Orca. Nice! The group focused on cleaning up beaches and removing pollution from the ocean. Cove always loved the sea. It didn't surprise you one bit when he started getting involved with them. You know, I probably would join too after hearing about it. Because I also love the ocean and beaches.
Their big Smash event for the year is coming right up, isn't it? Yeah. There's not that much more to do before then, but I'm kinda looking forward to the fundraising push.
Hopefully we can pull it off.
If anyone can do it, it's you two. And even if it goes really bad, it'll still look good on a college application at least.
That's true.
Hey!
Guess what else? We don't have to stand here to say stuff. Let's go! I would like a meal now.
Perking up, Cove nodded in agreement. Excited by that plan, you smiled. The four of you headed into town, happily chatting the whole way. The only decision left to make was where exactly to stop and eat. Miranda was the first to offer a suggestion.
So...
I don't know about everybody else, but I'd like some chow mein.
Chinese is fine with me.
Entirely serious, Terry nodded.
That'd be amazing right about now.
Agreed. The group's lazy wandering shifted into a purposeful journey just like that. And as Terry predicated? The conversation was able to continue while on the way to food. You and Cove finished explaining what was coming up with your Orca fundraising efforts. All the talk of beaches reminded Terry of her own personal goals. She'd been considering getting lifeguard training. Nice.
Cove and Molly can keep our ocean clean, and I could keep it safe.
Such selflessness was inspiring for the listeners, though Terry butted in before anyone was too impressed.
No way.
Don't be proud of me yet, I haven't even signed up.
Laughter burst out in the little crowd. Miranda took a turn to chat about her life next. She'd picked out some 5-week summer courses at a community college. They wouldn't be starting until later in the month. It was exciting, though. Not content speaking solely of herself for long, Miranda mentioned good news for someone else. Specifically, that her older brother Jude had a new boyfriend. You vaguely knew who Jude was, but even though you'd been friendly with Miranda for 5 years, he was already in an out-of-state college back then. He was in his mid-20s. You were pretty sure of that. What you knew for certain was he had his own place with a real career and everything. Jude existed in a whole other stage of life than you, and hanging out with his much littler sister's friends had never been on his to-do list. Now that was an accomplishment worth being taken in by. Terry, who heard it, and Miranda, who said it, were equally dazed.
He's been single for a few years now. It kind of seemed like he just wasn't interested in anybody. And that was true, basically. There wasn't anyone here for him. He's dating a friend he's known online for a long time. They've been playing games together since college. This is my theory, But he might not have dated anyone else because all he wanted was to hang out more with that good friend. But no one ever say that to him. He never even hinted there might be a thing there until one day they were suddenly dating. But besides that, what's funny is I don't even know his name. Jude didn't talk about him to us until they'd already known each other forever. And now that Jude has started talking about him all the time, he just calls him Grant.
Huh?
Is his name not Grant?
It's not. It's an inside joke about how they talked about school grants one time when they were first becoming friends. They thought it was funny how Grant was also a name and were going all, "Oh, I bet Grant could get a grant." Then it escalated to joking about a grant being named after some person called Grant. His friend made Grant his username for everything, and it still is today.
You barely had a concept of Miranda's brother, and that one explanation was everything you knew about his boyfriend, but the story gave a real impression of who they were.
Wow. Godspeed, Judy. Never let Grant go. That's nice. I bet they're really happy.
I like this one. I support you, Jude and Grant.
Thank you.
Trying to follow the incredible story of Grant proved difficult. Miranda trailed off. The current conversation was well and truly over, so Cove took a chance to speak.
This has been on my mind the whole time, but there was never a good chance to mention it before.
What is it?
There's a new person renting a condo in our neighborhood.
Oh, yes.
Really?
From one tale of an unusual character to another, Cove spoke of Baxter Ward as if he was a local legend.
His name is Baxter. He's in college, though doesn't look like he's much older than us. Maybe Miranda's age? He's not gonna be what you expect, no matter how much you try to guess.
The description put Terry on the edge of a non-existent seat, and she was about to fall off it somehow.
What?
What? A new man in town? Who's our age? Cove Holden has been holding out on us as usual. I won't guess, you tell me what he's like. Monochrome! I felt like she was talking to Cove, so I'm not going to, talk over him. He considered how to word it. A careful explanation was required to make any sense of the man in question.
I mean...
Baxter is, bold. He says whatever he wants, and he dresses dramatically. Everything on him is black and white, even his hair.
Huh? Cove had been correct. That kind of man had not been considered in the realm of possibilities for Terry or Miranda.
But I don't care that he has a style or that he's not shy. What I don't get is the way he acts so impressed by strangers who have done nothing. He said he wanted to hang out with us, me and Molly, this summer and all this other stuff. And that was the very first time we'd met. I have no idea why he cares or why it was so easy for him to say that to people he knows nothing about.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So you got his number?
No.
Cove's eyes squinted, and his nostrils squished inward from the incredulous scrunch that suggestion had given him. Considering the picture that had been painted, he couldn't understand why Terry would imagine anything like that had happened. I would, just shake his head. You should've! You don't meet a social butterfly like that every day. The black and white color scheme proves he's a rare specimen. Uh-huh.
Ooh.
You don't meet a guy like that every dynasty. This Baxter is flapping around the town, coming to appreciate our two good buds, Cove and Molly. Right? Like flower buds and he's a butterfly? Uh-huh.
Terry, that pun is such a stretch.
Well, he sounds like my kind of guy, and we could always use more friends.
No. It's very possible to have as many friends as you need.
I agree with Cove on that. This was escalating. The more fired up Terry got, the more Cove and Miranda wanted to shield themselves from the embers. Yeah, I would have just... this is not going good. No longer moving forward, Terry stood there with her hands on her hips as the single true extrovert of the group. I mean, sounds like she was a Baxter to our group at some point, so I guess Baxter will get in here at some point.
I'm on it.
I'm gonna meet Baxter. Right now. Cove completely stalled, except for his lips, which sputtered a response.
What about getting food?
I know the way. You can all go ahead. I'll be back before the food hits the table. You'll see it. Extroverts are truly an amazing breed. Terry's light chuckles contrasted massively with a hefty sigh from Cove.
Oh, you're actually going to go to a stranger's house and ask for his number. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Why do you gotta be like this?
If I wasn't like this, me and you never would have been friends ourselves. And I probably wouldn't have been friends with Randy either. Okay, so I guess Randy's a nickname for Miranda. Oh, Miranda, duh. It finally clicked in my brain. That's a great nickname. I love that. I don't live in this town. I can't miss an opportunity to connect. Otherwise, that'd mean leaving it up to chance or fate or Cove's ability to have relationship progress on his own. I don't have all year for that. He'll be gone before then.
We're cool.
Not to insult you for going slow, Cove. You're good the way you are. Baxter can be a butterfly, and you can be a snail. There was affection in Terry's extended metaphor, but Cove still frowned at the almost certainly correct assessment of how his connection with Baxter was going to develop.
No.
I don't like snails.
I was thinking that how about a sea turtle? Excuse me, snails are great. I like snails and I like you. I mean, this was the immediate thought that went through my head, so I have to do it. How about being a sea turtle, then?
Okay, I'm a turtle.
Nice.
Good you can accept that.
Order me the General Tso's chicken. I'll get his number. Inspired by the name of her meal, or perhaps her meal was inspired by the sudden mission, Terry gave a military salute before flipping around. Miranda and Cove simply watched in disbelief. You can go with her? Sheesh. Yeah, I would have also just been absolutely stunned, because that is not something I would ever do. Bye! Don't forget me! With those parting words, Terry vanished down a bend in the street. The three people left in her wake had no other choice but to regroup.
Let's go.
75% of the usual crew finished the short walk to the restaurant in bemused silence. It wasn't busy, and you were seated immediately. A waiter came by with menus, but you'd all been there many times before and didn't need long to decide what to get. He was happy to take the order then. She followed through with the original plan that brought you all there and requested the chow mein for herself. Then she ordered General Tso's for a friend who was running late. The waiter wasn't being paid enough to listen to a full explanation on Terry's absence. Cove got beef and broccoli. When the server's attention came to you, you said... Oh, so many good options. I would like... The beef and broccoli is really good. I love having that with rice. Can I do both? Got it. Anything else? Deliberations were made, and the conclusion was yes. Spring rolls would be gotten to share. Your table was also getting 4 waters. Okay. You know what? I'm satisfied with the beef and broccoli anyway. The waiter jotted it all down and excused himself to get the order in.
So...
Well, here we are. Sort of. We didn't make it exactly in one piece.
He offered the joke to head off another awkward silence. Unfortunately, his delivery was equally uncomfortable. Miranda gave a little smile anyway. You laughed internally, thinking about it. Not exactly a Cove's joke. Before people had run away from that house... Oh, sorry. Before, people had run away from that house. Now there was somebody running right to it. Times had changed.
Wait, does Terry know which condo it is?
maybe.
Oh no. The water arrived and Terry wasn't there. When a plate of spring rolls with a side of dipping sauce was placed on the table, a seat remained empty. Oh god. They just really hit it off, maybe. Terry vowed to make it back before food arrived, though ordering an appetizer was cheating. She met the main course. No one declared her loss yet. I mean, you guys can text her. But food was truly in front of the three of you. A savory steam lifted from the rolls in a curling motion like an encouraging wave hello. Miranda placed her hands in her lap, rejecting the greeting.
I want to wait for Terry before starting, but you two can eat yours. She won't care.
Cove hummed and hawed with squinted eyes before ultimately saying,
Yeah, I'm gonna eat mine.
that was expected, but it was impressive he at least took a second to consider waiting. We could eat all of them now and she'd never know they were here. It's true. I mean, spring rolls are delicious. I probably... If we're all friends, I probably would just start eating. Because I feel like Terry has pulled some shenanigery like this before, and by this point I'm like, I like eating my food hot, okay? I'm eating mine too.
Cool.
He plucked a plump-looking spring roll off the plate. It was gonna be delicious. Cove selected his morsel indiscriminately, taking the one that was closest to his side of the table. Half of it disappeared after a single bite. Not surprisingly at his pace, Cove finished munching on his spring roll before Terry appeared. So did you, and it was in fact very tasty. Miranda's gaze drifted towards the door. She'd resisted watching for Terry until then, but she had to focus on something other than the tantalizing spring roll. She thought aloud, slumping lower in her chair and stretching out one strand of curled hair.
I wonder what he's gonna think when a stranger shows up at his door asking for his number.
When she put it like that, it amazingly sounded like a bad idea. Oh, really? Somehow you knew it wouldn't go as poorly as it probably should. Cove understood it too.
I don't know Baxter, but from one conversation, I'd guess he'd like the attention. It might even make his day.
I'm not sure.
I hope so.
Randy's well-wish was suddenly granted when the topic of the discussion strode into the restaurant. Oh no. I made it! Okay, I thought they meant Baxter had come with her.
Terry, hi!
I'm glad you're here. Seeing Terry arrive with an undefeated spirit eased the line of Cove's mouth. It was all okay, and that meant he could already joke about it.
You barely made it, you know. We ordered a while ago, and this appetizer is already here.
Close, but making it is making it. Did my good friends get what I requested? Baxter's formal way of speaking had apparently come along with Terry.
Yep.
I got it. General Tso's chicken.
Ah, yes, thank you! The last seat was finally filled as Terry plopped down, satisfied after a job well done.
So, did you actually see him and get his number?
Why even ask? I wouldn't be here if I didn't. If any of you want to get in touch with Baxter, you can come to me. I'll text him for you.
Huh.
Wow. Could you ask Baxter if I could have his number too? Terry certainly shouldn't be underestimated. Baxter will be cool with any of you reaching him through me. He's a chill guy.
Really?
You think so?
I know so. I just showed up at his house and he gave me his number. We should hang sometime. Cove and Randy exchanged uneasy looks. The Baxter saga wasn't over as far as Terry was concerned. It might only be getting started. Oh goody. The group had settled into its usual rhythm when your proper meals arrived a few minutes later. You ate and talked, and not once did the topic return to the element of the unknown Baxter Ward. But he remained stuck in a corner of your mind. After many seasons in the sleepy town, you'd had expectations of what the summer of 2016 would look like. It had been all too easy to imagine. Sure, you'd graduated high school. Your life wasn't going to be the same anymore, but it was too soon for that to warp the existence you'd had for over a decade. At least, you'd thought so. And yet there was Baxter. He was something you'd not counted in a single one of your vacation plans. You couldn't have until barely an hour ago. Now he might be. His number was on Terry's phone. A new world, one you had no grasp on, was already poking its way into your old routine. And it had come in the form of a black and white ballroom dancer. Stop distracting me, game! Move on! You were lucky. The final days of familiar comfort had come, but the first sight beyond that was a charming young man asking you to spend time together. Yes, and his name is Cove Holden. That's his name. There's no other, okay? The rest of the afternoon and evening passed by in a blink of an eye. When night fell, it was time to head home, and you parted ways with Miranda and Terry. You and Cove reached your neighborhood without event. It was late enough that your out-of-the-way street was dark and silent. Cove was giving you a piggyback ride. Probably tiredly. You yawned, stretching your arms high over your head. It was taking a lot of mental focus to keep up and walk alongside Cove. As you did so, you peered at his face out of the corner of your eyes. You wondered why he felt so distant to you. Maybe because you were busy thinking about a charming young man who wears black and white and is a ballroom dancer all day. You ever think about that, Molly? It was out of character. For a while, Cove silently stared ahead and left you alone with your own thoughts. It surprised you when you did hear his voice all of a sudden. He still wouldn't look at you.
It feels weird coming back to the neighborhood and trying to get into things like they're the same. And they're not. They've changed. They're still changing.
Your mouth felt uncomfortably dry all of a sudden. It was true. The things that kept the people you knew together were starting to disappear. Each person had to make their own priorities and their own path now that it wasn't set for them. You thought about your own immediate future. If you had to choose in this very moment, you wanted to go to school full-time, part-time, work full-time, work part-time, focus on time that's not work or school. Man, at 18, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't want to go and do more schooling. I know that much. As much as I was like going to miss it, I still didn't want to do more schooling. I did start working part-time, so I'll do to work part-time for now. And also focus on time that's not school or work. And that was the basics. For your career, you thought you'd yeah, working online was like not even a thing I considered at 18. I never thought about starting my own business. This was just kind of what I assumed I would do, and I did do that for my first job. And that was it at that point. For yourself, you wanted to try to figure out what you truly want. And take some time to relax. And that was it. And for that, you wanted to I mean, I like traveling, but I also like staying local. Like, the familiarity of home is hard to give up for me. It'd all be happening so soon. You'd already applied to jobs. You started to prepare for what was coming. You hadn't begun to do anything about that yet. Already applied to jobs. Cove was the only person who knew. I probably would have, yeah, like family and those I'm close to. I'm not gonna like just blab about it to everybody. Now you wondered what Cove had in mind. You'd heard him consider some things for his future, but it was never anything that would have counted as a real plan. Making it back home, you both stopped in the middle of the street. Cove sighed. Cove looked at the ground for a moment. His mouth trembled, trying to settle on the right words to say.
So, are you still thinking about relaxing for a while and stuff in Sunset Bird?
You nodded. Your stomach felt like it was twisting into knots. Cove closed his eyes and nodded while he composed his thoughts. He looked at you when he lifted his head.
I mean,
I decided on something. Well, kind of.
He smiled slightly and rubbed his arm, and then his expression grew more serious.
I'm not gonna decide on a school or a career. Not this summer. I'm gonna stay here. At least in Sunset Bird. I'll probably move out of my dad's place.
Okay.
I'll keep working my job, keep doing my volunteer stuff and everything else.
I don't know.
Maybe I'll know what I want for myself by fall or next year, or maybe I'll never have a plan. Life will continue on with whatever is happening.
Yeah, that's basically what happened to me. I'm like, I'll figure it out in the fall, spring, next year, 5 years. Life continues. Things happen. Now I just don't have plans anymore.
I'm not gonna crush myself trying to have everything figured out by a timeline that someone else has set. I just can't do it.
I know what you mean. His brow furrowed and his tone was tense. It was clear how much expectations were weighing on him.
I guess.
It'll be me and you, right here for a while longer.
His eyes were glossy. You weren't going to be separated, and that meant a very great deal to him, and me too. Your plan sounds very you. You were glad that the two of you would be in Sunset Bird together. Elated, you smiled. Cove looked relieved that you were happy with this turn of events.
I'll see you tomorrow, Molly.
I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. He pulled you into an unexpected hug. Aww. It knocked the breath out of you, yet couldn't have been a more reassuring feeling. You returned his embrace and stayed that way for as long as you could.
Good night.
He finally let go, giving you another smile. Then Cove started walking away, but you remained there, frozen in the middle of the street. You watched him and wondered, how many more times will he be able to say that he'll see you tomorrow? You hoped for countless more times. Finally, you turned towards your own house. You vowed to yourself that you would make the most out of every moment you had this summer. We made it! Yay! Excellent. Okay. So, I thought this said bloating for a second, and I was really confused. I'm like, bloating? We really are into the next stage of our lives. Amazing. Okay, cool. So we've got 10 new things. And there's Baxter's DLC. You must choose be it fond or crush. Blah, blah, blah. You must also include Baxter during the hang moment in step 3. Ah. I'll have to look at that later. I'm not doing any of these things right now. I'm sad that Derek's just disappeared in step 3. That's really sad. Well, hopefully we'll run into him at some point again, but for now, we've made it to our moment selection, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we do next time.